Hi team, Kieren here from Elite Rugby SandC. Hope everyone is doing well today. So today we're going to be talking about Bath and Wasps Rugby, and we're going to be reviewing some of their gym sessions that they've posted on their YouTube page, which is awesome. We have done this before, so if you go back to one of our original videos, myself and Ben reviewed the All Blacks, and that was a fantastic video, so make sure you go watch that one before you do watch this one today. So there's no context behind any of the sessions that I see today. It's just me in the studio. It's just me watching and reviewing what I see and commenting on what I think is done really, really well and what needs to maybe be improved upon, or just some handy tips that I've learned along the way. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. We're going to watch the first one, which is Bath Rugby. We're just going to watch that straight 3-minute video. You're going to pay attention and see what you can see, and then I'll give my thoughts on that. But before we watch any of it, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below as well. Tell me what you think. I really would like to hear what everyone thinks about these videos, but also about my comments, or you saw something different as well. But also make sure you go to Instagram as well and follow us at Elite Rugby SandC, because we've got plenty of great content on there as well. And all our links are just in the bio as well. So let's get started and watch our first video with Bath Rugby. Awesome. So we just finished watching the first video of our review here at Elite Rugby SandC. And what I noticed straight away, programs written on the whiteboard, being communicated really, really well from that SandC coach. You can tell he's got a wealth of knowledge, and the program looks pretty detailed to what I can see. And yeah, it's just a great way to get the gym session started and setting the standard as well. And it's pretty common practice when we have a group setting, and you get the forwards or the backs again, the whole team, is that we just have a quick little talk before the gym session just to make sure these are lifts that we're doing, or this is the block of lifting that we're going to be doing. These are the standards, and this is what I want to happen in this session. One thing I'll comment on that is writing up on the whiteboard. It's not really something, I don't know, most places don't do anymore. We're going to be using software such as Team Builder. If you haven't heard of Team Builder, it's a great app to use, and it's just everything electronically on your phone. So your athletes are going to be having access to their program on their phone, and they can save their weights. They can also review what they've lifted in the past. You can prescribe percentages. You can add comments onto the exercises and prescribe RPE or reps in reserve. And you can also provide them with YouTube videos of how to do the exercise. So if you're too busy or they're doing the program remotely, they still have access to a good quality explanation so that they can do it as well. So yeah, you don't really see whiteboards being used too much. They still get used for certain aspects, and I'll definitely still use them every now and again. But yeah, you want to be using a software like Team Builder or something along those lines when you're definitely programming there. And I know Ben would back that up as well. So as you can see, using the trap bar deadlifts, I'm a huge fan of trap bar deadlifts. I love them. I think it's an easy way to get into a position that some people find awkward when they're using a normal barbell, and allows us to apply more force and be a lot stronger as well. And it's just a bit more friendly to the shoulders as well. For me, it allows my athletes to really be strong in that upper back and then apply force through the ground and stand up nice and tall. So I think it's just much more friendly on the shoulders and the back. And I think we can get a lot more bang for the buck in that exercise as well. You also see an athlete or athletes using a band when they're doing the trap bar deadlifts. And that's something we like to talk about is, so the term we like to use is accommodating resistance. So we're either going to make the movement harder or easier with the band. And in this instance, with the band on the trap bar deadlifts and also using it as on the squats as well, is we're adding tension to where the movement might be a bit easier. So we're going to add tension so that athlete really has to fight through the accommodating resistance and apply more intent. And it's really good for force output. And it's also good to tell your athletes, this is how fast and hard I want you to be lifting as well. You don't always have to use bands, but they are a great tool. And that's the big emphasis on tool to use if you want to get your athletes applying more force into the ground and lifting with more intent. Obviously, if you're a novice athlete, you don't want to be using them straight away. You want to be understanding the movement. But if you can use bands correctly, they're just going to aid to your training, and yeah, you're going to get some really good strength and power benefits as well. And another point is you also see some people not lifting with shoes on. That is completely fine. A lot of runners out there have a big cushioning of foam, which makes it hard to lift properly and can be a bit of an uneven surface. And we don't want that movement on the foot. We want to be nice and stable when we're lifting heavy loads. So take your shoes off if you feel like you're just not able to apply a force correctly into the ground, you just don't feel stable. Or lift with lifting shoes. That's another great option. Or try and buy something along the lines of a Metcon or a Nano from Reebok, or you can buy some Under Armour Tri-Base. They're a bit more sturdier on the foot, and they're great to lift in as well. So, but if you don't have those options, you can just lift with no shoes. There's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, just be careful when you're tracking around and don't stub your toe or anything like that. So, as I said, lifting with bands on the squats, which is awesome, and then also going down to the box. So the box is allowing athletes to know the correct depth that they need to go to. And you just want to make sure that you touch the box or rest for a split second and then explode on the way back up. We don't want to be completely relaxing on that box and taking tension off, losing that core tension, and then coming up. We want to keep tension on the whole time and use the box, again, as a tool and as a guide to come down, hold for a second, and then explode all the way up. I have seen it done poorly in the past when you do lift on a box and you just see them relax and then come up. We don't want to put that sheer force on the lower back, because a lot of people do have lower back injuries, and we don't need to aid any, or we don't need to put any more pain down there. So yeah, use the box correctly, and yeah, just make sure that you're staying strong in that position when you're going down to the box. And remember, lifting with intent. That is the main purpose of all the lifts that we do. We've got to lift with intent, stay strong. And yeah, you can definitely use the box there as well. Another thing, we noticed some dumbbell incline rows. Big fan of doing any type of rows for the back, especially on the incline as well. I think it's just something different. And you have that chest supporter. So when I say incline, you've got that chest supported row. And that was perfect form. I can't think anything wrong with that form, and it was just great to see perfect form, lifting with good motion and getting a nice rowing motion. So they're not lifting too high where it's you really see people getting that upper trap sort of going, and it's just a bit awkward, and they're not going super duper low where it's just like a swing. And I do say that swing because if you see people lifting with a barbell in that video, it wasn't really a rowing motion. It just looked like a swing motion. So we're not actually really getting the strength gains that we want. So if you could apply that form you just saw on the dumbbell row to the barbell, perfect, no issues. But yeah, definitely want to be working on that back. Your back can never be strong enough for rugby, and we definitely need a strong back to be able to withstand contact, apply force, and then yeah, you just need it. It's just super important. And then another one is sort of just that interesting way. I found that really interesting with the barbell rows. Like I've never seen that type of setup with the incline bench and putting some weight plates underneath to raise it up. I thought that was quite clever, because the times that I've done barbell rows, it would be on the flat bench, and we've popped 2 plier boxes and then a bench on top to create a bench pull. So I thought that was really cool with the incline row. So yeah, if you don't have a machine like that, you can easily just make it. And I love the creativity from this video, and it was really awesome to see. Lastly, I think there was great speed when squatting on the bars. It was great motion, going on movement, going all the way down to parallel. There was a couple guys going below parallel, but it was good intent on the way up as well. And that was good speed under the bar. We don't just want to lift slow or anything like that. Again, we want to lift with intent, and that's what I saw. I saw some great intent, and these guys are just moving extremely well. And then lastly, you saw the bench press, pretty straightforward, but I can't emphasize how important getting the basics is. Like a bench press is pretty basic movement, but it also isn't a complex movement as well. So you just got to make sure that you're doing it really, really well, honing down on these basic movement patterns and skills when lifting, because when you're getting to the top age like Bath Rugby, you're expected to continue to do these lifts, but with more weight. And if you don't have the technical aspect of that lift, you won't be able to lift as much. You won't be able to get the strength gains that you need, and you won't be able to get to the standard that the coaches want you to get. So hone in on those basic skills, and yeah, you're going to continue to reap the rewards from it and continue to get stronger as you develop through your rugby career. Alrighty, team. So now we're moving on to Wasps Rugby. So this video was back in 2017. So a lot has changed in the SandC world, and their programs probably changed as well. So just a reminder, it's just commenting on what we see, on what I see, sorry. So let's get straight into this video. awesome. So you see some really good setups there. The trap bar deadlift again is being used. I love the trap bar deadlift, as I mentioned before, but I'm not a fan of the tap and go. So they're coming down, just tapping and then exploding back up. I like athletes to reset for a second, apply the force into the ground, take that breath in, be strong in the core, and then stand up. I think that bouncing is cheating. I'm just going to say it's cheating. I don't think it's good form and it's good practice to see. I need to be able to see you, come down, rest for a second, and then apply that force. And I think it's a lot more safer, but you're also telling athletes they have to be strong the whole time throughout the movement. Whereas when you do bounce, you see how they bounce and then they get to that sticking point and then have to come up. I think some injuries can come from that, and I just don't want that to happen. And so you did see the trap bar was very wide, so you can get some interesting designs on the trap bar, but we don't want the trap bar to be that wide. I'm not the biggest fan of that. The only time I'll use sort of a wide grip would be doing wide grip RDLs or like a snatch grip RDL. And you can do some snatch grip deadlifts as well, something I've done in the past. But yeah, if I'm buying trap bars, I want to be having the handles reasonably close, not just super wide and it looks a bit awkward. So definitely make sure that you invest in some good trap bars, especially the 6-foot ones, so you can add weight onto it, because you get, again, with trap bar you can lift a lot more weight compared to a conventional barbell deadlift. And if your weight plates are quite thick, you might get to a point where you can't fit any more weight on because your athletes are just too damn strong. So make sure you get those 6-foot bars. But yeah, not ideal to have those shorter ones, because again, the shorter ones, the collars on them, they're a lot shorter, so you can't put as much weight on. So it just doesn't make sense, Moving on from there, again, using squats and using the box. Again, like I said, you just need to be careful and not to lean back and sit back too much. You just want to go down, touch or rest for a split second, and then explode up with intent. So I explained it in the last video. So definitely make sure that you're using that tool correctly. And you just got to be safe with that. Some strong lads in this video, like hands down, when I'm watching these videos, it's just awesome to see some strong lads lifting with some really good form. And it's just like the previous video we did with the All Blacks. So make sure you go watch that. That's a sneaky plug for that one. So you did see some movements paired up with the barbell RDLs. Love a barbell RDL. It's a great movement to build some strength and resilience in the posterior chain, especially those hamstrings. Unfortunately, they're an area that get quite injured a lot in rugby. So it's a great movement. You just want to make sure that a common mistake I see with the RDLs is athletes sort of looking forward and they get that kink in their neck. You just want to be looking out in front of you and making sure that you're keeping that sort of neutral spine the best that you can. But it's a fantastic episode. It's a fantastic movement. And definitely needs to have that in your program for rugby athletes to get some nice strong hamstrings, or ham cords as we like to call it here at Elite Rugby SandC. So you just want to make sure that when you are doing these RDLs and barbell power cleans and deadlifts, you want to have the same grip. And that's something I'm a big emphasis on, is having the same grip and the same setup, because you can go between lifts and nothing happens. It's just the same movement and you're primed and ready to go. Too often I see athletes doing the RDLs and their hands go a bit closer, or a barbell deadlift, their hands come a bit closer. But then when we have to do a power clean, where I prefer arms a bit wider, it can sort of mess them up a bit and they're not as comfortable. So if you can teach your athletes, and athletes listen to this, try and have the same grip width and setup as RDLs, power cleans, and deadlifts, because they're all very similar movements in terms of, if you break it down, you've got the hinge part of a power clean, and the deadlift is the first part of a power clean. So you want to have the same setup for all of them anyway. So that's just something that's sort of a trick I like to do with my coaching, is just making sure that we have a same setup, so nothing changes and you're ready to go for each and every single lift that we do. So with the RDLs, I think an important tip again is you don't want to overextend at the top. Where overextend, you're really leaning back coming through of your hips too much. You just want to stand tall. And again, that's another common problem I see with the RDLs is overextending, and you're putting a lot of pressure on the lower back, and we don't want that. We want it to just be a movement where we're feeling in the posterior part of the body, and we're not feeling it in that lower back. There's nothing wrong with feeling it, but you don't want athletes like, oh, damn, why is my back sore? It's probably because you're overextending at the top there. We just want to hinge down and then stand tall, back to neutral, and then go back again. Avoid the overextending and that leaning back. We don't want that. So we had the barbell shoulder press. You just want to make sure that you're locking out fully and getting that full extension. Fully, is that even a word? Jeez, Kieren. We just want to get that full extension and lock out overhead. We don't want to be having in front of us or too far behind us. It's just not a good position for our shoulders. And if you think as a forward, you're not lifting, when you are lifting, in a line out, you're coming together and you want that straight line. You don't want to be out in front. You don't want to be too far behind because you won't get the best lift that you can do. So just make sure that you're getting a good full lockout and you're not going too far forward and not going too far back either. You can do, so there was a seated option as well. I prefer the standing option. I think people probably sit a bit too much throughout the day. And if you're not if you are an amateur rugby athlete and you're sitting down all day, then it's probably best to get you up out of the chair and in a seated motion, standing motion, so that we're using the whole body to lift that weight up. And obviously there's a reason why we sit down is to take the lower body out of the equation, and you really have to stay locked in your trunk and your upper body. But I do prefer the standing option when we're doing anything like a shoulder press, for example. So that's the first video for Wasp Rugby done. Let's move on to the next one. so the next one done and dusted. So we had some RDLs again. So again, that head position, we want to make sure that we're nice and neutral and we're not overextending that neck and causing that little kink in the neck. We don't want that. Just look out just in front of you on the ground and just make sure, yeah, the head is sort of following what the body's doing. So using a pad and pen, again, team builder, something along those lines. Using a software on your phone is the way to go. Can't emphasize that enough. And who knows, hopefully Wasps Rugby has changed their ways and gone the realm of something like a team builder to program. And that's, again, we're not, well, not again, we're not sponsored by Team Builder, but damn, we probably should be with all the plugs that I'm putting in on this review today. Some really good looking squats. Again, moving with intent, moving really well. And you can tell these athletes have been doing it for a long time. And again, like I said, you can't just overemphasize the basics. Get the basics right, and you're going to get really strong, and you're going to continue to get strong throughout your career as well. So I really like seeing players have the spots and also having like having the spotters on the sides and on the back as well, and helping them put the weight back on the rack. I'm a big fan of that. It's like when we're lifting barbell bench press or a squat. It's just reinforces that you're there for your teammate, and your teammate knows you have their back, especially if they get to a point like, oh shit, I can't get the weight up, then you're there to help them. So it makes you feel, yes, I can get this weight. I know there's help there if I need it, but I'm going to lift this weight. Let's get it. Whereas if lifting by yourself with no spotters, it can get a bit scary at times, and you might not reach your full potential on that weight, on that set, if you don't have that spotter. So make sure when you do have the opportunity, get spotters. If you just have the one behind you, or you have two on the side, or you have all three, it's really important when you're doing any testing that you have all three for a squat. And then for the bench press, again, having three as well. So you had the front squats. It's a great option. I love a good front squat. The reason we use more of a front squat is it's allowing your trunk to stay a lot more upright, and it's also a bit more focused on building a bit more quad bulk as well. But it's just a great exercise to really make sure that we're teaching good trunk position when squatting, especially when we go from a front squat to a back squat. A lot of people can sort of collapse quite easy, and if they don't have that knowledge and understanding of to stay nice and strong and have a positive posture when lifting, then yeah, it just makes it a bit harder to go into a barbell back squat straight away if they haven't learned from front squatting before. So you can use straps when you do the front squat. The only reason we're using the straps is if you find that front rack position uncomfortable on the wrist, and a lot of people do, it is a quite awkward movement, and it's not really something we need to do per se, have your wrist like that. That's where the straps come in front, but we do want the front rack position like this. So the elbows up. We don't want to be going zombie. We want to be going, holding this position. We're nice and active, and we're in a really good position, and it's good for our shoulders. Some people are like, oh, I don't like the front squat because it hurts my shoulders. Well, we need to fix that issue to make those shoulders nice and healthy and robust to play rugby. So I'm a big fan of front squats because it allows us to identify some weaknesses in the shoulder, but also build some strength and get some good mobility in the shoulders, because these big boulders, they do take a lot of impacts playing rugby, unfortunately. So if you can't get in the front rack position, definitely work on your mobility, but the straps are a perfect option. Just make sure that you're getting into that position there. We don't want to be doing the zombie. So we did see some single leg dumbbell RDLs. Oof, another great exercise. I love a good single leg RDLs because we're focusing all that weight and attention to that one side. Whereas if we can always do the double leg, we don't really, or it just makes it harder to understand athletes. Are both legs strong together, like individually, sorry? Because for me, like my right side really strong, my left side sort of lets me down a bit. So it allows you to identify if there's any asymmetries and weaknesses between the two, and we can build up that strength as well, because there might become an injury from that one side if it is a bit weaker than the other side. So love a good single leg dumbbell RDLs, and also allows that it forces athletes not to lift as heavy and to really focus on their form, be nice and stable, but they're applying all that weight to that one leg. and we're not going to overload them, and we're not going to get too much of a neural stress, which is good if we want that. But obviously there's times we do want it, but a lot of the times we don't want it as well, because we just want to get a good lift, a good neural adaptation, but we don't want to be too draining on the body that it's going to affect the next session that we do as well. And again, all movements in rugby are pretty much done on one leg, so you've got to be strong on one leg. So as you saw in the walking lunges, they got into their run tech position. That is something we love doing at Elite Rugby SandC. So you see them come down and then come up into a stride, into their run tech position, then coming back down. A great way to get some calf activation during your lunges, but also a great way to re-emphasize this is the position we want to be doing when we're running fast and sprinting fast as well. And I love a good walking lunge. It's such a great exercise to use. So we had the barbell push press or shoulder press, depending what you sort of saw there. And you just want to make sure that you have a good width and you're not too close to the bar. So if we're really close with our grip on the bar, you're having to go a lot further to get that bar up, compared to if we go a bit wider, like our front squat, or just a bit wider than our front squat and then press up. It's a lot easier and it's less stress on the shoulder. So you really want to make sure that you got a good width and you're not super duper close and you're making it a lot harder for yourself. You go a little bit wider like your front squat and then lift up that way into a good overhead position. I think that athlete was maybe lifting a bit too close there and making it a bit harder for themselves. So you saw some cable wood chops. We're a big fan of the wood chops. We like to use the bands on the wood chops. I think it's just a bit easier to set up, and you probably don't know the resistance that's being applied or the weight, but you can measure that if you want to, but it is a bit tricky at times. But yeah, you're just using the bands. I think the resistance, that accommodating resistance, starts off a bit easier, but when you're crossing a body, it's a lot tougher, and you really have to get a good power and intent to lift that band in that motion. So if you don't have the bands, the cable is a perfect option. And good thing about this movement, you can adjust it. You can go a high to low, so setting the cable up nice and high, or that sort of medium level, or a low to high wood chop. And we would recommend doing all three, because they're all going to have some advantages to rugby. And again, it's just a new stimulus to the body, and it's such a great movement, those wood chops. And a little trick you can do is in a split stance or a single leg. Definitely give that a go as well. We like doing that variation here at Elite Rugby SandC. And what would a session be without doing some buys and tries at the end? You love to see it. You would fill in the sleeves. Supersets. It's just a great way to finish a session. Or if you're doing like a circuit, like building boulders circuit, so you got some shoulder stuff at the end, it's a great way to finish a circuit, get the heart rate up, get a good sweat on, but also, as Arnie likes to say, get a good pump on as well. So that's my thoughts and comments on those 3 videos. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, give us a like, subscribe, share, go onto Instagram, give us a cheeky follow, and keep up to date on all the content that we're going to be producing. We are going to get more content out here on YouTube, and just on YouTube. And yeah, we're excited to deliver that stuff. So thanks again, team, for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down in the comments.